Hello and welcome to the Flourishing Introvert Talks with me, 𝗳𝗏𝗍𝗏. This is the podcast that celebrates the natural gifts of introverts so that we can flourish in all situations. Episode 304. Solitude is sacred fuel. The publication date of this episode is not lost on me, as it's due to be live on December the 25th. For some of us, we'll be marking that as Christmas Day, and a day many may be surrounded by people, noise, and excitement. I say surrounded because we may or may not be feeling that ourselves. It may feel very much out there and not in here. It's at this time of year that we introverts often crave solitude, but find it so hard to come by. All the people, all of the expectations, all of the traditions. They can be fun for a while, although not for all, and it doesn't take long before we feel our flat battery warning sign. Time to recharge or refuel. Easier to do if you're at home, blooming nightmare if you're visiting someone. I bet most of us have had criticism levelled at us about being boring loners, antisocial, even miserable. And that can make us feel guilty about needing our quiet, alone time. And I can understand why you might have felt those things in the past. After all, we live in a society that demands immediate responses, constant availability, and instant gratification. What those who throw criticism around like confetti don't realise is that our time on our own, or at least in companionable silence, is precious beyond measure. But given the bias so prevalent in our society, it can feel like a luxury we can ill afford, or a guilty secret we need to justify, or even a treat once everything else is taken care of. Talk about 𝗷𝗶𝗃 𝗪𝗂𝗍𝗏. This is the cultural conditioning we've been subjected to thanks to the increasingly evident extrovert bias. What I see time and time again is that when we introverts ignore our need for quiet, we don't just get tired, we start to lose sense of ourselves. Our patience wears dangerously thin, our thinking begins to get clouded, and we become less of who we know ourselves to be. In fact, I shared that with one of my team members around the same week when I was crafting this episode. That we are wired to need peace and quiet for our energetic and emotional replenishment is not a flaw. It's a physiological and neurological requirement, which is our right, and dare I say, our responsibility to satisfy. So this episode is your permission slip to step back or step out and take the quiet time you need. And as ever, once you've got a permission slip in your hands, it means you're not allowed to feel guilty or apologetic. Remember, you're not allowed because Joe says so. Okay, so now we're ready to delve into this episode wholeheartedly. Overriding our needs and stressing our nervous system in order to please others is irresponsible. Yep, irresponsible to yourself. That word is often levied at us by someone who feels let down. Well, what about you letting yourself down? What about you not being there for you? How are you supposed to flourish when you compromise who you are? We might think we're doing the right thing, going with the pace others set, fitting in and keeping them happy. But my question is, are you happy? It's so demoralising to open your long to-do list and realise that you just don't have the energy to complete everything. Never mind, you convince yourself, I'll get an early night and then start early tomorrow and get ahead. Yeah, right. While you're trying to drop off to sleep, those as yet unfinished tasks float before your eyes, like constant reminders of your assumed incompetence. You have a family and friends weekend planned, but 30 minutes in, you're already craving the solitude of your own room. A question bubbles up based on guilt. How can you call yourself a good person if you're reluctant to spend time with those you love? Your inner critic has a field day with that one, and now you're in a quandary. Stay to please others or leave in order to look after your needs and recharge your batteries. I wonder if you can be an impartial observer for a moment and notice the cognitive load that this adds to your already overwhelmed being. Emotional depletion leaves us reactive rather than responsive. Irritability when we can't process things calmly. Resentment aimed at a world that doesn't understand our needs. So, uncomfortable truth time. Alone time for us is not optional. I mean, you already knew that, right? So, are you forgetting, or is it simply too difficult? Maybe the guilt is too powerful. I know you'll know the answer. Alone time is not an annual maintenance like your car servicing. Alone time is sacred, providing the fuel we need to function well in this noisy world. When we are alone, or at least in companionable silence, our clarity begins to return, our emotional balance resets, and we reclaim our identity. This is where we reconnect with who we are. It's self-leadership. Let's look at some of the powerful ways we can reclaim the time we need. Each of these strategies are acts of self-respect and self-preservation. But before I get into the detail, and I say this with love, please don't think that you need to do all of what follows. Be selective and discerning so you don't overcommit. And as a recovering perfectionist, don't think that what I suggest needs to be done perfectly. Even one small intentional act of solitude can begin to restore your balance. And that's the ultimate aim here. Number 1, schedule solitude with the same seriousness as any meeting. Frankly, it's the most important meeting of your day, week, or month, so treat it that way and protect it as a key part of your well-being contract with yourself. Number 2, create personal rituals that soothe and ground your nervous system. Use these at the start of your alone time so you quickly settle into restoration mode rather than overthinking what's been going on. Number 3, use micro moments of restoration when time is limited. That's what I use my brilliant battery boosters for, and you'll find the link to those in the notes for this episode. They may only be a temporary fix, but they work remarkably well. Word of caution though, don't become over-reliant on them when what you really need is complete downtime. Number 4, re-establish your boundaries, especially if they've become a bit leaky recently. That can happen over the Christmas period. Communicate your boundaries clearly and compassionately, with kindness, but without apology. Your needs are your needs, full stop. Finally, number 5, don't be afraid to explain why you need this time, why you sometimes slip out without saying goodbye, or don't respond to their communications. Some say you don't owe anyone an explanation, and whilst I kind of agree on one level, how will people understand us and our needs better if we don't help them? In summary, remember that it is your absolute right to step back, step away, or step out. You are not selfish for needing space, you are human. And if others interpret your restoration as rejection, that is a reflection of their discomfort, not of your worth. Only you get to choose what supports your capacity to live and lead authentically, and it's your responsibility to get the support you need. I invite you to imagine what your life would be like if you held your need for solitude as a non-negotiable. Sleep would become less elusive, mornings would be calmer, your thinking so much clearer, and your emotional regulation easier. All of this makes the decisions and choices you make more purposeful. And of course, it doesn't only affect you. Your relationships at work and with your loved ones will improve because you'll be showing up replenished and restored rather than stretched thin and as taut as a drum. So begin by blocking 20 minutes of uninterrupted solitude at least once this week, with no guilt attached. Only you know how much you need, so monitor the results and adjust accordingly. Happy solitude. If you enjoyed this episode as much as I did, then please subscribe, rate us and leave a comment, because we know that helps other people find the podcast. And if other people find us, other introverts can flourish.
You are listening to an Intentional Media Production podcast.